thanks guys for coming, I appreciate it. I know it's tough to take the time out of your day to come to these kind of things. I was a contractor for 24 years, I've sat quite a few times. These can be pretty painful, we'll try to make this one too painful. Basically what this is, it's a install training is what this is. We're going to cover gas pressure, we're going to cover venting, we're going to cover power, we're going to cover application. We're going to do all that in about an hour and 45 to 2 hours in here. Then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to do some tear down stuff, plus we're going to live fire out back, so we'll actually show you how it works and what makes it tick. Quick show of hands, how many guys are going to put in internal? Wow. Now the guys that raise their hands, how many guys had problems? Don't be afraid, had a problem, reach it. There you go, that's what, you don't count, Bill. Keep your hand.
They got a lot of problems.
Was the problem resolved?
Yes.
Okay. Well, anybody here fish? Yeah? Okay. Little video for you that I'm going to show you. I'll set it up for you. Two guys standing in a boat. One guy in the back of the boat's holding his hand out over the water like this. He's holding a hand grenade in his hand. The guy in front of him is holding a string tied to the hand grenade pin. The guy in the front pulls the pin, the guy in the back drops it. This is what happens. Okay, here we go. I think they forgot to read the part about a grenade that says throw it away from you. So they dropped it right in the boat next to the water, and you can tell they weren't expecting that. Don't know if they killed any fish. That's right. I can just watch it over and over. Okay. All right, that's it. Thanks for coming. Enjoy the donuts. We'll see you next time I'm out this way. Okay. Okay, we just talked about Grand Hall, and for those of you who might not know about Grand Hall, I just discussed it a little bit. We make more products than just the water heater, but the water heater is our biggest seller in the United States. 95% of all these units that are made come here. The other 5% are divided between Canada and Australia. This product is not sold in Asia where it's made. It's too big of a water heater for them. They don't need this much hot water. We're the water heater glut. We're the hot water gluttons in the world, here in the United States. We got to have all that hot water we want for these 24-gallon-a-minute body sprays and 12-gallon-a-minute tub fillers. We got to have that kind of water. So this machine was made for our marketplace. That's our facility in Garland, Texas. One of the things we're hoping to strive for in the next 5 years, and this is unusual in this day and age, is behind that huge building we have another 20-acre lot. And if the sales of this product continue to grow the way we think they're going to grow, they eventually want to bring the manufacturing process to here instead of in Taiwan. It takes care of a lot of different things. It makes it easier to get them here, doesn't have to bring them across the ocean, and we have the capabilities of doing that here. So as we go forward, we're hoping we get to the sales to a level where that'll happen, then we can really tout this as an American-made product. Right now, it meets all the Free Trade Act because it is a Taiwanese company that only sells here in the United States, this product. So we can put it in National Guard armories and Air Force bases and Army bases. We do it all over the country that way. So it's good that way. All right, a little bit for the guys who have not put in about what a hybrid is. What do we mean by hybrid? We try to take a machine that had all the advantages of a tank water heater, all the advantages of a tankless water heater, with none of the disadvantages of either one. Now, what's the disadvantage of a tank water heater? It's really only two. Okay? Slow recovery and low efficiency. It's really the only disadvantages now. Used to be standby loss too, but these new tanks, these Bradford Whites that are sitting out here, they have an R value to them now that you only lose about 1/3 of a degree an hour on that tank loss. So it's not standby loss anymore. It's just recovery and low efficiency. Other than that, they work wonderful. On-demand water heaters, whether it's Renai, Takagi, which is now A.O. Smith, Navian, or Noritz, have three disadvantages. Number one, you have to have flow to make them run. If you don't have a half a gallon a minute water running, you don't have any hot water. Second, and most importantly for this part of the country, is cold water sandwich effect. You have a Renai R75 in your house. You take a shower. It's a wonderful shower. Take it for an hour if you want to. It doesn't matter. You'll have good hot water the whole time. You get out, the next person gets in. Usually, let's say it's your wife gets in the shower after that. She turns the water on. Well, all the water from the unit to the fixture in the pipe is still 120 degrees. So you turn the water on, she turns the shower on, she steps in. Well, it takes 8 to 12 seconds for the burner to light on that Renai. In that 8 to 12 seconds, there's still water going through that coil. It's not being heated. So that gets sandwiched between the hot that was in the pipe and the hot the machine's going to produce. So they turn the hot water in the shower, they step into it. 10 seconds later, they get a hit of cold water. So they step out. And they turn it hotter. And they step back in. Then the hot water comes back. It gets too hot, so they step back out again. In the 24 years as an installer, especially the last 4 years that I worked for a gas company, we probably put in a couple hundred Renais. We used to sell them for lease models and for rentals. We did a lot of installs for Renai water heaters. And you had to train the customer. You had to let them know about the cold water sandwich effect. I used to tell the customers, look, walk in the shower, reach into the Legionnaire, turn it all the way to hot, go grab your towel. By the time you get in there, you'll have a great shower. People don't want to do that anymore. Water's a commodity now. They don't want to waste it, even for 30 seconds. Especially people have to pay for it in the cities. So it becomes an issue. And lastly is pressure loss. You've got a coil, a half-inch copper coil. Some units are 7-pass heat exchangers, some units are 14-pass heat exchangers. The fully condensing Rinnais, like the I-98, or the Navian fully condensing, has 2 heat exchangers. But when you put water through a small heat exchanger, every time you bend it, you lose pressure. Okay, the more bends you put in, the more pressure you lose. In a fully condensing Rinnai or Navian, you might lose 28% of your pressure from incoming to outgoing once it goes through that heat exchanger, through that coil. Now, if you're taking 1 shower, that really doesn't matter, because you're not going to notice that. 2 showers really won't matter, but turn on a 3rd one, and you'll see all 3 shower heads slow down the flow. Because remember, all the competitors of us, Rinnai, Takagi, Noritsu, and Navian, will all sacrifice flow and pressure to maintain temperature. They want you to have perfect temperature all the time, so if you start to increase your demand, they've got an automatic water valve built inside the machine that slows the flow of water down to keep it in the heat exchanger longer. We will sacrifice temperature to maintain flow and pressure. Okay, so that's one big difference that we have. We'll talk more about that as we go through. Now, what we did different was the heat exchanger. It's 52 pounds of 3/16 nickel chrome plated stainless steel. Okay, and I can pass it around if you guys want to hand it to each other, but it's all there. So you'll notice the water goes in the bottom with the cold, comes out the top as hot, just like a water heater does, a tank water heater. We hold 1.8 gallons of water in that machine. That's 316L nickel chrome plated stainless steel, which means it's non-magnetic, which means minerals won't adhere to it. Because we don't have coils, you don't have to put an isolation valve kit on this. You're never going to boil it out with white vinegar or any kind of potable water cleaning solution. You don't have to. There's no coils to boil out. Okay? The 1.8 gallons of water that we have in there, we keep it inside that tank 18 degrees hotter and we want it to come out of the machine. So we always have that buffer of hot water in there. Now, what does that do for us? It does 3 things. Number 1, we are temperature and flow activated. Anything less than a half a gallon a minute of flow, when the tank drops 8 degrees, the burner cycle's on. You still have hot water. Anything above a half a gallon a minute, the burner cycle's on in 5 seconds, so for the full on-demand capabilities. Because we have stored water, you have no cold water sandwich effect. Because you have that stored water inside there. So it doesn't matter if the next person gets right in the shower. You'll never get that cold water hit coming through the machine itself. And lastly, we lose 2 psi of pressure at 4 gallons a minute, which is exactly what a tank water heater loses. But we're 98% efficient. Fully condensing, vent with PVC pipe, field convertible. A lot of features you can't get on a tank water heater, especially the efficiencies and the recovery rates. So that's what we really did. Now when you look at that heat exchanger, when you flip it over on its side, you're going to see these 44 tubes here. Now if you can visualize it, the water sits in this channel right here. And up in the dome of that tank, that's where you hold the 1.8 gallons of water. These tubes, the water surrounds those tubes. It doesn't go through the tubes, it surrounds it. So what happens is this, the burner comes on, it's cylindrical burner, it heats the sidewalls of the tank first to heat the water once, and the dome. Then the byproducts of combustion hit the top of that dome and come down through those 44 tubes. So it acts like a 2-pass cast iron boiler. We're heating that water twice with the flue gases. The cold water coming to the bottom of our tank keeps these tubes cold on the bottom. So as the hot flue gases hit the cold tubes, we condense. The more we condense, the better our efficiency. You could have 1800 degrees Fahrenheit inside that box right there. You're going to have about 122 degree Fahrenheit air coming out of the machine. That's how much it pulls off of there when it's condensing. Okay? So all those advantages all into one box. And also what we can pull for hot water. All right? Field convertible, natural to LP, right in the same box. Comes through for natural gas. If you want to convert it, you change your orifice, which I'll show you how to do here in just a bit. So it's good that way. It comes with rubber legs. This one doesn't have it. There's rubber legs so it can sit on the floor. The water connections are off the top, like a regular water heater. You'd have to pipe it down underneath it, which makes it nice. It can hang on the wall. It's got a wall mounting bracket. 98 pounds dry. So it's not horrible to use, horrible to take care of. Okay? And again, like I told you, power vent, direct vent. We'll talk about that when we go through the venting. And again, the best features of this are no cold water sandwich effect, no pressure loss, and you don't have to clean it once a year with any kind of cleaner. There's just nothing to boil out. Now, with that said, water quality is never going to be a non-issue. I don't care what you have for a product. We can handle 15 grains of hardness to still maintain our 15-year no-leak warranty, residentially, 7 grains commercially. You got to know that number. If you go to somebody's house and you have the water tested and it's 32 grains of hardness and they don't want to soften the water, sell them something else. Bill will be happy to sell them a 40-gallon Bradford White Power Vent water heater. That's not a problem. No, he won't. Yes, he will. He's lying. He'll be happy to sell that. You don't wait. If they're not going to protect the machine, whether it's ours or Navian or Noritsu or Takagi or Nine, if you're not going to take care of that hardness level, and all our competitors can only handle 8 grains of hardness, as opposed to our 15. So we're a little bit more forgiving. So know what your water quality is. Lime. I've been told by a lot of guys in my trip here to Michigan that you guys have a lot of lime scale in the state. Well, if you're gone to a tanked water heater that has lime in the tank, you fire that burner off, you hear it pop, percolating like an old coffee percolator. That's because there's lime in the bottom of that steel tank. You could have a half an inch of it, you could have an inch of it. Well, as you heat the bottom of the steel tank, it cracks the lime, the pressure goes through it, and that's the bubbles you're hearing. Well, when you have lime in the bottom of that tanked water heater, your efficiencies went from 85% to maybe 55%. Because you got to transfer heat through the steel, through the lime to get to the water, okay? So you have very low recovery rates. Well, if you've got lime in our heat exchanger, it's not going to kettle that way, but over time you can get enough lime in there to block the cold water from coming in. So know what your water qualities are. Heavy iron deposits, which runs rampant in New England where I live. We have a lot of iron in the water. I've pulled flow switches out of ones in Vermont where you can take them and bang them on a table and it looks like chunks of rust coming out of the flow switch. That's how bad the iron content is up there in some of the water, some of the wells they dig. So know your water quality and you won't have any problems, okay? And keep that in mind.